Alright, so we're beginning day 2, and what we accomplished on day 1 was to come up with the perfect template, or a good template, for what we were trying to do based on some experiments and based on some test fittings. So I've taken that apart to then use those pieces as a template for everything else I'm going to do from this point forward. Probably going to sand this down and maybe refine this shape a little bit as we go along, because I realized I had made a couple of design errors. The top of this piece, when you put the next piece on here, depending on what you've done, sometimes extrudes out like that, or there's a little corner sticking out. So that's not, it's fixable by simply moving it down. So I'm going to obviously be aware of that, and maybe make this radius not so sharp coming off of that line to allow for this to be as high as possible. The higher this one is, the better off you are as far as stability on the door. So I have to make 5 more sets of those, and I already have an extra set of these because I only used 2, so I have 1 left, so I need to do 4 more of these. I'm also a little nervous about, although the connection is very strong here, I'm a little nervous about leaving those 2 pieces being the only support for the entire apparatus, because someone could accidentally fall into one while they're taking it out of the truck or something, and then I won't be able to repair it on site, and that'll be a big problem because I'll have no ability to support one of the panels. So I want to avoid any possibility of something coming apart. So I believe what I'm going to do is I'm either just going to put a 3rd one in the middle to create more stability in the whole rack, or I'm going to use something like this as this 2x4, which obviously is going to make it heavier, but it'll give me a 3rd member that's significantly stronger than those other 2 in the middle, just to make sure that nothing happens on site. That's what I'm trying to avoid, is having anything go bad. So you, again, as we talked about before, over-engineering is never a bad thing, because it's easier to have peace of mind when you know that what you've made is over-engineered for what you're trying to do. So now we're going to make 5 more of those and 4 more of these using these templates. And we're not going to assemble anything. We're going to leave them apart so that I can have the kids paint these with roller brushes and paint all these pieces so they have something that they can do today. So that's what we're working on next. So now that we've replicated the first set 5 more times, we now have fairly identical pieces for all of the brackets. I now have to cut 4 more of the side pieces here And then I think at that point, once I get those cut and get the drills holed, I think I'm going to let the kids paint these without trying to put them together first, so that we can get some coats of paint on them and see how that's going to come out. I have the edges. I've kind of done one coat on the edges, and we're going to have the president of the company paint the sides to add some color to the sides of these pieces here. And then those, you can't see them because it's too bright, but there's a bunch more all the way out there. So we're going to work on these first. We've got one side of every piece painted. We've got the edges of every piece painted. We're now flipping them over and doing the back sides on the first coat and letting them sit out to dry there. So that's where we are right now. Now that we got the pieces drying out there, I stood up all the doors on end, just stacked them together, and I'm just going to paint the edges as a block just to be more efficient with the time. A portion of this is going to be inside the bracket, so I don't have to worry too much about the bottom quarter of this where the sticker is. So I'm just going to paint from about the sticker up, and then the rest of that's going to be hidden inside the bracket.